This was even better than the first one. Usually horror sequels, they're kind of cheap and lazy. And again, I'm using the term horror film as a technicality. If you go on IMDb, it'll be listed under the genre horror, but it's really not a horror film. It's a thriller. It's a suspense film. It really is not really any horror elements. It's more exciting than it is scary. It's meant to be more like edge of your seat to see what happens next as opposed to like making you jump. But anyway, horror sequels, they tend to repeat themselves usually. They tend to be really lazy. But this is one of the rare times that the movie took everything that was good about the original and followed it up with something that was probably even better. This was probably the quickest 90 minutes I've had in a long time. Like, when it ended, I went, okay, that can't be the end. Like, there's got to be more. The movie just started, and I'm like, oh, well, that was an hour and a half. Well, that flew by. But that's also kind of a problem, because I think it would have benefited from a longer runtime. The fact that it was so quick is kind of a problem. Now, the two biggest issues I have with the movie are the premise is very similar to the second Hunger Games movie because, they take all the people who won the other Hunger Games over the years and make them compete against each other. Just like that, we're going to take all the other people that won these other escape rooms and we're going to find the ultimate victor by having them picked off one by one in this escape room. It's very much catching fire. And the other issue, I think it would have benefited for a longer time because the villain is kind of underdeveloped. The villain isn't even really seen that much until, like, maybe the last 10 minutes. And she's this new character who, if this gets a third one, for sure is going to be the villain in that one. And I would have liked to see more of her. I really would have liked to see how the villain and this other villain, I would have liked to see how they react in between the rooms and make them really diabolical. Make the audience really hate them. But they're just kind of an afterthought, which is disappointing. Like, they're this unseen threat, but I would have liked to see, kind of like going back to Hunger Games, how you can kind of see President Snow and the people around the Hunger Games and kind of what they're doing behind the scenes. Really give the audience a chance to root against these people, just kind of slapping them on at the end. So that's why I think this would have benefited from a longer runtime. And I don't think 90 minutes to this movie justice. Maybe, an extra, maybe 120 minutes to just kind of develop the villains a little better. But I did think this movie was incredibly exciting, even more so than the original. I really hope they do a third one. And like I said, if they do a third one, I really hope that more time is spent developing the villain more, maybe even giving them a redemption arc by the end. There's a lot of ideas you could do with this. I want to see kind of what other challenges they come up with, because these are really fun to watch. They're really exciting. I'm loving this. I hope this becomes a franchise and this isn't dead after like the second movie, like a lot of movies tend to be. So I would give Escape Room Tournament of Champions an A-, 9 out of 10, a 4 out of 5 stars.